Hello and welcome back to Flight Sim World. Thank you very much for joining me in this video, and today we are going to be taking a look, at least starting to take a look at the BlueSky FS DLC for Flight Sim World. This is the Curtis P40-F Warhawk, otherwise known in the UK as the Kitty Hawk 2, I think this was known as the Kitty Hawk 2. It's a World War II fighter jet. As you can see, it has very similar shape, similar sort of airframe, similar sort of structure to a number of World War II aircraft. Personally, this one has a similar shape to a Spitfire for me. It does remind me in many ways of a Spitfire. So I am going to be breaking this one down one step at a time. This is going to be a full in-depth review, taking a few parts, and in this video I may not even take the aircraft off, but we're not going to be doing anything crazy in this video, but I will be in another video doing some crazy stunts and using this aircraft as it was designed to be used. Now I'm going to be heavily relying on the manual that comes with this aircraft. It comes with a 41-page manual, although some of it is actually license information, so really I guess about 35 pages or so is actually the manual. I think it costs £20 or something, but we're going to see whether it's worth it, and I'll let you guys decide whether this aircraft is worth the money. Of course, we know that DLC aircraft in all flight simulators can be rather expensive, so we are going to see if this one is worth the money. Going into some sort of specifications for this aircraft, like I said, the P40-F Warhawk, it has a Merlin 5 1651 12-cylinder liquid-cooled engine, which is built by the Packard Motor Company in the USA, and it produces 1,300 horsepower at takeoff, or at 18,500 feet it produces 1,120 horsepower. The maximum speed does change according to the height that you're at, the altitude that you're at. I'm not going to get into flight envelopes and flight performance charts or anything like that today, but you can get this aircraft up to, in normal flight, up to 364 miles an hour. However, in dives you can get this aircraft up to 450 miles an hour, as stated by actual pilots who have actually been looking at this aircraft in Flight Sim World, and there's a lot of information that has been gathered from real-world pilots to actually explain what this aircraft can do as opposed to what its specifications actually state. I'll be going on a bit more about that and how this aircraft was designed in a little while. Obviously, we're looking outside at the moment. We will be looking inside very shortly. The maximum range of this aircraft is 700 miles at 20,000 feet in a clean configuration, or 875 miles with 43 gallons of fuel on the drop tank. So they have a drop tank underneath, the belly tank, I suppose you could call it, right there. So you got the belly tank there, or if it had a 141 gallon drop tank, then we could get 1,500 miles out of this. I believe this has a 43 gallon drop tank on it, so this one has a range of 875 miles. The service ceiling of this aircraft is 34,400 feet, so it can go pretty high up, which is very impressive. And it weighs 6,590 pounds empty, with it loaded up as you would expect with its guns, its the ammo, the pilot, the fuel. You're looking at 8,500 pounds, and at maximum you're looking at 9350 pounds. So it's not really that light. It's actually surprisingly heavier than I thought it would be, but I suppose that's what you would get. The wingspan itself is, as you can see, 37 feet and 4 inches. Across there is the wingspan. The length of the aircraft is 33 feet 4 inches, so the aircraft is wider than it is actually long, which is I suppose would that be normal? No, I think aircraft are still longer than they are wider, but in this case it's wider than it is long, but it's almost a square, which is very good for balancing of the aircraft and all that kind of stuff. And the height is 12 12 feet 4 inches off the ground, so about 2 average human beings, or just over 2 average human beings. The armaments on this aircraft, which of course we can't use in Flight Sim World, is 4 or 6.5, so half-inch machine guns, and you can get between 240 and 300 rounds per gun, with 227 kilogram bombs also loaded to its underbelly. So it's definitely a fighter. It's definitely a proper fighter. So let's find out. Now obviously this aircraft is not, you don't often hear of this aircraft between, you hear about the Spitfire, you hear about the what was the other one? The Mustang, you hear about the Hurricane, but you don't hear about this aircraft so much. It wasn't the greatest of fighter planes, but it was very, very cheap, and it was very, very easy to build, very, very easy to maintain, which was really, really good. And these ones were named the Warhawks in the US service, but 150 of these were supplied to the RAF. And the RAF, we call them, yes, I was right, I'm looking at the manual now, these were called Kitty Hawk 2s, and not many of them actually served within the RAF, but it was very, very important between 1941 and 1944 for having air superiority during the World War. So let's have a look at the aircraft from the outside one more time, and then we'll go inside. Now I've picked the metal, the bare metal livery over here. There are a few liveries available, US Air Force and a few other Air Force liveries. I've just picked this one because I think it would make more sense being in 2017 or 2018, you know, we're getting very close to 2018. I thought it would make more sense to have one of these bare metal. Maybe it's been stripped down and it needs to have a nice lick of paint on it. However, the one thing I do have to note about this is the normal maps on this make it look like, oops, if you have a look at the shine of the, can you see the shine of the light and the way the light is shining? It makes it look like this aircraft actually is painted in the bare metal as opposed to the bare metal on its own. Now, I could come up with an excuse and I could say, well, that could be some sort of lacquer on the aircraft to keep the bare metal from rusting away. So maybe we'll go with that excuse. But certainly the rivets and everything just look very, very basic. I think a new normal map texture would be better on it. I mean, you can see there on the rivets and everything, the normal map does generally, it does seem to work. You can just see, if you look at that, you can see how the light is hitting the rivets just there. So yeah, I am looking at this aircraft in a lot of detail. Let's go inside and let's have a look at what the aircraft is like inside. So this is the inside of the aircraft, and there's a lot to really take in over here. So let me see if I know where half of these things are. So we've got a whole bunch of buttons, as you can see. Look, having a look. In fact, let me move to mouse control. Having a look inside the aircraft, we'll zoom in a little bit so we can have a really good look here. You see all of these various instruments all the way down, a whole bunch of switches. There's our flight stick. It actually is a proper flight stick. There's our throttles and our mixture, our propeller there. There's our rudder trim, our elevator trim. There is a lot over here. So let's get a really good look. There's our checklists. Yep, that's our checklist on this side. I swear I saw maybe it just popped up of its own, and it's very, I must say, this is very high quality. I'm very happy about this. Look at the quality of the writing there. I mean, you have to really zoom in before it starts blurring out, but if you're looking at it at 1.5 times zoom, that's fairly good, and at 1 time zoom it's absolutely perfect. It is. And most of the time you're not going to fly an aircraft at 1 time zoom, as you can see. You're going to normally fly it at some sort of half zoom. So to have that at 1 time zoom, really well written, very well textured over here. You can see that warning: do not lower the wing flaps at above 150 miles per what? MPM? Miles per, that can't be miles per minute. You're not going to do 150 miles in a minute. I don't know what that means. Or lower landing gear or cowl flaps All lower landing gear OE cowl flaps. Outer edge cowl flaps above 175. I think these may be a couple. If BlueSky, if you're watching this, I think you may have a few typos there. That may need to be: do not lower wing flaps above 150 miles per hour. That needs to be a H. Or lower landing gear or cowl flaps. There needs to be an R there. Cowl flaps above 175 miles an hour before landing. Propeller in max cruise position, mixture on automatic rips, flaps lowered, landing gear in lockdown position, check landing gear, warning horn with throttle closed. Oh yeah, we know the horn for that. Before starting engine, mixture, idle, cutoff, mainline switch on. We're going to get through all of this very, very soon. We just have to have a really good look around. Let's see if we can find out what all of these are. So they are all labeled in the manual that comes with it, the operations manual. So let's have a look. So over here we've got ourselves, well, that's quite easy to see, that's a gyroscopic compass. We've got our attitude indicator. It doesn't look like a normal attitude indicator, as you can see, but you can see the standard aircraft, the 30, 60 and the 90 for the banks. So, and you can see the artificial horizon, which can we change? No, I can't see any possibility or any way to change that. Okay, that's fine. That is fine. Then we have the fuel signal light, which on the manual seems to have an inoperative flag on it. So I don't know whether that works or not. Maybe that is inoperative. That will illuminate when the fuel pressure drops. We have the gyroscopic compass heading, which is this one over here. That's the heading indicator or changer that will allow us to adjust it. We've got the, what does that change though? Oh yeah, that does just change that. That's fine. Because I was just looking at there's this one down here. I don't think it changes that. Okay, so oh, I know what it is. We can we can basically line that up with that. There we go. So that's okay. That makes a lot of sense to me now. We've got coolant warning light up here. We've got the lamp test, which is there. Yep, that doesn't actually work. So that button. So that doesn't work. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. So that's going to be. That's kind of annoying. That is. I'll be honest. That really is annoying. We've got the landing gear warnings. They don't work. Okay, the fuel gauge. Maybe these ones are going to be coming in soon. I'm hoping they're coming in soon. There's our fuel gauge. That's very easy to read. Capacity 70 US gallons. That wasn't the imperial gallons that I was talking about a few moments ago when I was talking about the specifications of the aircraft. We've got an airspeed indicator, which goes from 50 miles an hour, so about 48 knots, to 500 miles an hour right there. Now, the velocity never exceed is 500 miles an hour, and 364 miles an hour is in red. Or maybe that, hang on a minute. There isn't. There should be 364 miles an hour. In red, there should be a little marking here saying never exceed, and that goes all the way up to 700 miles an hour. So yeah, so there is that. The turn slip indicator, well, that's very, very easy. That's right there. We all know what that is. That's our standard turn coordinator. We know, we've seen that. Obviously, this here is our vertical speed indicator. This is our engine manifold pressure. This is our coolant temperature there. There's our oil pressure and our fuel pressure and our oil temperature. That's the actual RPM position of the throttles. That's our suction gauge for the gyroscopes, I believe. I don't know what that is. Let's find out what that one is. It says number 14 here. Carburetor air temperature is that. That is in operation. So there's nothing there. That's inoperative. Well, that's great. What else do we have now? There is a lot on this aircraft, I'll be honest, but a lot of it seems to be inoperative at the moment. Now we need to look maybe down here. What's that? That looks like our flaps indicators. That's going to be an interesting one. Number 17, yeah, gear and flaps indicator. Okay, right. So they'll move up to show gears are locked, and then there's the flaps in their positions, which I'll work out. Oop. Ah, my controls have gone weird. Okay, that was interesting. I didn't mean to go outside. Let's see what else we can find on here. We've got a clock. Well, I assume that would just be that right there, which is showing us, yep, there's the clock right there. Obviously, we've got our altimeter showing us our altitude. We've got the magnetic compass, which I pointed out a little bit earlier. Everything else I pointed out there. We now have the cockpit heater, and that actually works. We've got a parking brake. I need to now check where exactly this parking brake is. Should be on the opposite side. Right there, there's the parking brake. So we can pull that to ensure the parking brake is on right now. We've got the electric propeller switch. Where is the electric propeller switch? That's this one over here, it seems. That looks like my electric propeller switch. Yep, so auto on increase RPM, decrease RPM. Fantastic. So that's that right over there. We've got the electric propeller circuit breaker somewhere. Let's see, should be right next to it, I assume. Yeah, actually, that's the circuit breaker for it. Okay, and there's the switch, and there's the circuit breaker. Okay, fine. We've got the fuel pump switch, which is right over here. We've got the gun safety and the bomb safeties over here. So that's that one there, that one there. We've got the gun camera over here, which that's actually operative, I think. I don't know how to make that work. We'll find out. But apparently that doesn't say that it's inoperative. So that's going to be interesting. There's our trims for ailerons. Then we've got our lighting controls, our running lights. We've got our fuel gauge lights, our landing gear lights, our generators, our coolant, our pitot heat, oil, battery. That's fine. Some more lights down here. A voltmeter over here. A bunch of circuit breakers here for the primer, the pre-oiler, the pitot heat, the hydraulic pumps, the fuel pumps, the ident lights, and the instrument lights. Now, interestingly enough, a bunch of these circuit breakers don't work. The primer, pre-oiler, pitot heat, hydraulic pump, fuel pump, identification light, instrument lights. In fact, none of those circuit breakers are in operation. That's concerning. The fuel gauge light switch also doesn't work if floor gauges are fitted. So I think we've got floor gauges fitted. Do we? I don't know. I don't think we... We'll find out. We'll find out. I'm learning this aircraft as we go along. That's why it's a review and a first impressions. In fact, I might just put this as a first impressions as opposed to a review. Obviously, I showed you the... it's not a voltmeter, it's an ammeter, but it's the amp master. We've got the radio master switch, which I need to now find, which allows us to switch on the radios. And I think that's over here. I think that's the radio master switch. I think. I'm going to go with that being the radio master switch. Then we've got the canopy handle, which is this one over here, which we can actually open up. There we go. So you can see that that's all opened up. We can take a look outside, and you can see the canopy is now very easily opened up. That's a nice way to land an aircraft. Have the canopy open. Let's go back in. I'm looping around. That's not what I meant to do. There we go. That's better. Then we've got our throttles, mixture lever, propeller control, as you would expect, and as I said on this side. So you can see the throttles right there. We've got our mixture control, we've got our propeller control there, and we also have carburetor air. Carburetor air is that one here, I think. I think that's the one. I think that's the carburetor air. So we've got that as well. So we've got full forward for full cold, and then yeah, let's actually zoom in. Does it maybe say that's an engine primer, and then that's a carburetor air. So there we go. That's actually inside the cockpit. It's very, very complicated. There's a lot of stuff down here. There's some flap operations as well, and how you use the flaps. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. So let's get this aircraft at the very least in this video. Let's get the aircraft started, because it's already 20 minutes in and we've just taken a really good look at the aircraft. So it does have the checklists over on this side, and you can use them. So you've got pre-start checks, you've got the engine start, you've got the after start checklist, and you can of course use it like this, so you can have a look at it however you want to look at it. However, I am going to do this. I'm going to have a look at it from this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually check out the pre-flight checklists to get used to this aircraft. You don't have to do this because the aircraft comes in a ready to start state. So the first thing we need to do is we need to look for the ignition switch. And we're going to find the ignition switch and make sure that the ignition switch is off. So that would be right there. That's the ignition switch, and that is in the off position. The landing gear handle, so we need to find the landing gear now. That looks to be is the landing gear on this side, this one over here. That's the landing gear. That is in neutral. That's my flaps. Don't do that. I believe that's in neutral. I can't really move it anywhere, so I'm going to assume that one is in neutral. Okay, fine. The parking brake is on. The flap handle control is in neutral. We've just checked that. We're going to go for the parking brake. Yeah, we've just done that. Adjust the shoulder straps. We don't have to look at that. Check controls for freedom of movement. Yep, they're moving. And the rudders are moving as well. Then we've got the throttle quadrants set. Everything is absolutely fine on the throttle quadrant. Fine, the circuit breakers and switches are all in the correct position. Great. Now we can go for the checklist to start the aircraft up. So first up, battery switch needs to go on. So now I need to find that. That's not the battery switch. There it is. It's just behind there. How do I get to that? Is there other views that I can look at? There's the forward view, the gear view, the radio stack. We'll have a look at the radios very, very soon. The avionics. Okay. The engine controls. Startup. There we go. That's good. Battery switch can go on. Parking brake we do have on. Carburetor air set is full cold. As I said, pushed forward for full cold. Trim tabs, rudder 2 to 3 degrees right. Elevator in 1 unit towards the aft. Okay. So we need to make sure that the rudder is going towards the right. So if can I trim this as you know what? I have lost all my controls, so I'm actually going to trim that to 2 degrees right, and the elevator 1 degree. Which one's the elevator? Hang on a minute. I'm going to go with that, and then I'm going to go with that as correct. That's what I'm going to assume is correct. Okay. So that's the trim tabs all set up. Mixture control, idle, cutoff. That's absolutely fine. So that's right there. So you can see we can go all the way up. We're going to go to idle, cutoff. Propeller switch is in automatic. That's that one just down here. So we've got that. That's absolutely fine. This propeller is at decrease at the moment, but that's fine. We're going to check that up. Propeller control is now going to go full forward. There we go. Propeller control is full forward. Fuel selector is going to be for front wing tank for start. So let's go to our fuel selectors, which is down here. And we're going to switch that to front wing for start. There we go. So that's on the front wing tank. The aircraft is now ready to start. Fuel boost pump now needs to go on. So where's the fuel boost pump? Fuel boost pump. I need to find this. I'm going to need to find this. Right, let's go back up to find out where the fuel boost pump is. So I'm actually going back along. So we've got the fuel pump. But I don't know where the... Unless it's the same... Is it the same thing? Fuel boost and fuel pump? Fuel boost pump and fuel pump? I don't know. I don't know. That one... So the fuel pump itself is actually over just here. That one? That's the fuel pump. Maybe that's what the fuel boost pump is. I don't know. Let's assume that that is the fuel boost pump, because I can't see anything that says fuel pump. I think it might be. I think it might actually be. Alright. So we've got the fuel boost pump on to give ourselves some pressure. So that's absolutely fine. You can hear it as well. We're going to bring the throttle 1 inch open. It's about an inch open right there. Engine primer as required. So let's actually prime the engine a few times. Let's go for four pumps on that. Okay, fuel boost pump now needs to go off. There we go. I don't know whether that is the right pump. We're going to find out. Magneto switch needs to go to start, and then both when the engine fires. Okay. So we're going to go to start. And then both, as the engine has now fired. And that engine is to life. Now we're going to bring our mixture up to auto rich, which actually, I think it's just moved it for us. Let's have a look outside. That's the aircraft started up. Fairly nice sound, actually. That's a very classic... That is a very classic sound. Well done on the sounds. Not perfect, but they're pretty good right there. Right, check the oil pressure is stabilized within 30 seconds. And we'll go over here. Oh, not there. Going to look over here at the oil pressure. That's the oil quantity. Where's the oil pressure? It's a fuel gauge. Actually, no, I think that was the oil pressure over there as well. So we've got the temperature going up. Then we'll just wait for the oil pressure to come up. This is crazy, this is. It's a very difficult aircraft to start, and I'm actually very impressed with how difficult it is. The only thing I'm not all too impressed about is the fact that there's a bunch of stuff that are inoperative. That's the only thing I'm not too impressed about. So the pressure's stabilized, temperature's good. Yeah, the pressure has stabilized, it's not fluctuating or anything. I'd want it in the green area, but we'll sort that out in a bit. Engine RPM needs to be set engine RPM between 1000 and 1200. Fine. There we go. No, actually it needs to be a bit lower. There we go. That's 1200 or thereabouts. So that's pretty good. Okay, now what we're going to do, now we need to switch the fuel pump back on. There goes the fuel pump. Now that's back on. Now we need to get the generators on. Now where is the generator? There it is, right next to battery. There we go, fantastic. Generator is now on. Okay, so we've done that. Now if we check our checklist, that should cover everything on the before start. Hey, you know what I could do? Let this do it itself. Will it fix it for me? It says 2 to 3 units. That's 3 units. I'm just curious as to whether this is going to... This might give me a handle on. Ah, right, it's that one. So that's actually the rudder, and that's the elevator. That's fine. That's all I want to do. Mixture control, everything's been sorted out there. We've done all of that now, and that's now on. Right, okay, so we need to do the after start checklist. This is that's a little bit hypnotizing, and it's really doing some weird stuff with the V-Sync and everything. That's a little bit... Wow, that's giving me a headache, that is. After start checklist, initially keep the engine between 1000 and 1200. Once the engine oil pressure is steady, which it now is, increase the engine RPM to 1500. So let's bring that up now to 1500. There we go. So that's now up to 1500 thereabouts. I can give it a little bit more. There we go. It's about 16 inches of mercury on the manifold pressure. And now what we're doing is we're going to wait for the temperature. The oil temperature is at least 15 degrees Celsius or centigrade, and the coolant temperature is at least 60 degrees. Now the coolant temperature here is actually very hot, which to me indicates that I need my cowl flaps open. I think I need cowl flaps. Now where are my cowl flaps? Because I think the one thing that it hasn't told me is to switch on to watch those cowl flaps. Where are they? I can't find my cowl flaps. This is bad. This is, in fact, those are my cowl flaps, aren't they? Nope, that's... Yeah, that's the cowl flaps, I think. Yeah, that's open. I'll actually switch that to auto. There we go. Don't know what this is. I'm going to put that back though. Alright, the coolant temperature is really high. That doesn't seem to be right. That just does not seem to be right to me. But anyway, you should then check the magnetos to increase the RPM to 2300 and then watch for the... Yeah, that's standard. So what we're going to do is we're going to increase the power, switch back one of the magnetos, come back, and then, yeah, that's normal. So here we go. So what we do is we leave the throttle where it is, stable, and we're going to bring that down and we're going to get a 100 RPM drop. Or no more than 100 RPM. There's the drop. Back to both. Now to the left. There's the drop. So I'm looking over here. Back up to both. Alright, and then I can bring that back down to 1500. Awesome stuff. In fact, that's really easy to bring it back down to 1500 now. And now we can switch on the radio master. So we're going to switch on the radio master switch, which I've lost again. And I'm actually going to switch on lights whilst I'm at it. Switch on some running lights. Spotlights don't seem to be on. What's that? Aileron, left wing up, left wing down. I don't know what that is. Landing gear. These are lights, aren't they? These are all lights. We can switch this on. Oh, wow. Oh, that's fancy. That's really fancy. I like the look of that. Oh, I really like the look of that. I want to switch on the other ones. Oh, don't tell me I can't switch those ones on. Whoa! I can look out, leaning out left, leaning out right. Amazing. Amazing. There's the radio stack. Where's the radio switch? I'm going to get back to that. I want to switch that one on. Start up, we've done that. No, I don't... That. Can I not switch this on? No. Okay. That's fine. Right, what else do we now need to do? Yes, it is leaving this operation from until now can avoids radio damage from transient voltage spikes during the engine start. Okay, so just to work out where this radio master switch is. I actually don't know where it is, because it doesn't actually tell me where everything is in the actual aircraft. That's a little bit annoying. I mean, I know it's on that side, but I don't know exactly where. I'm going to have a look anyway. Is it you? Oh, hang on. These look about right. How do you tune these radios as well? I don't know how to tune these radios. Radio stack, there you go. I can't seem to switch these on. There must be a way. There must be a way, but anyway. I think that would bring me to the end of this first part of this little aircraft first impressions and review. What are my thoughts early on? I think to start with, you know what, the aircraft, ooh, that's fancy. To start with, the aircraft does look quite promising. It really does look quite promising. The only thing I'm not happy about are things like circuit breakers not working. This is something that I am concerned about, but let's close that. Should change the noise. Does change the noise as well. Very nice. But you know, there is a lot here to play around with, so that's going to be quite interesting. Again, I'm also a little bit concerned about my coolant temperature. Even though I followed the instructions all the way through, it doesn't seem to have done much. So I'm actually going to open up my cowl flaps all the way. I still don't know what this is. There we go. My cowl flaps are now fully opened, and I want to see if that actually helps with anything, because yeah, I don't fancy that going all wrong, because that's going to be a bit of a problem. If anyone knows what, in fact, can I just hover over it? I'll probably find out by the next episode. But thank you very much for joining me for this first part. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys got a good feel for the complexities of this aircraft while still on the ground, and my first impressions on sort of what the model's like, what the texturing's like, what it's like in terms of starting the engines up, the sounds. And we're going to, in the next video, actually take to the skies, and we're going to do a little bit of flying around. I might actually go straight into trying to do some stunts and all that kind of stuff, and then we'll land the aircraft. So make sure you join me for that. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more videos on Flight Sim World. Leave a comment in the comments box below letting me know if you've picked up this aircraft. Maybe you've already done a flight with it. What do you think? Actually, I do like that. All those little spots of light. That's actually quite well done. What do you think? Let me know. And also, do support my Patreon scheme. Link to that is in the description box below. Your support would be massively appreciated, and will really help me out. Hopefully, I will see you guys next time in the next part of this video in Flight Sim World.